Alright, today I want to take a couple minutes kind of talk about the car we're working on. This is the 94 Saturn. It's time to replace the head gasket. A little cold here in Utah and it's leaking really bad, so it's time to go through and do it. So what I've done, I've put a list together of everything that I need to remove to do this job. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we're actually doing. We're going to put together a parts list. Okay, this right here is the list of everything that I'm going to remove in the order I'm going to do it, so when it goes back together, it goes back easy. This here, we're going to talk a little bit about the cooling system. We're going to talk about how to flush out the engine, the heater core, and the radiator, all three separately. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about that as well. We'll also talk about the torque specs for each thing that we're going to be taking off. We'll go into detail on that when we start, working on it and tearing it apart. We also want to talk a little bit about the firing order, which is important for us to know. The firing order and how to find top dead center and where the timing marks are. So we're going to talk about those things. There's another video on YouTube by Richpin. It's a two-part video. It's actually where I got a lot of the information to do the one that we're doing and feel comfortable enough by watching his videos that we can tackle this. I've done head gaskets before. Never done one on a front wheel drive. Never done one on a four-cylinder engine. So we're going to kind of go take you over the parts. I'm going to show you a couple of things that we're going to need to do this job, some of the products that we need, and then we're also going to talk about a bolt bin. If you guys have never used a bolt bin, this is a really good way to keep your nuts and bolts organized, especially on a job this size. And you want to take some pictures. You want to take some before pictures so that you know how things go back together. Make sure you have adequate light so you can see. So I'm going to take you over a list of products and show you what we got. Okay, here's the hood. This is my hood bolts, which go right here. You can see it. And now what I did is I just kind of traced and etched out exactly where that bracket is. Really smart idea to get a bolt bin. And I just put some tape here and then I mark out where each individual bolt comes in. I might need another one for this as well. But if you can look right here, you can see where I've etched this out. Come over here to the hood, and then you know exactly how to line that back up, okay? So that's something to do when you remove the hood. To take you over the parts, we're going to need some 1030 oil. We're going to need some new antifreeze, some RTV sealant. This is what come with the kit. We're going to put in some spark plugs, a new oil filter. We're going to use this for a flush kit. We're putting in a new water pump. Here's the head gasket kit. So that's the head gasket. This is the throttle body gasket. These are the valve cover gaskets. This right here is for the manifold. This is the intake manifold. This is the exhaust manifold. And these are the valve cover seats, okay? So that's kind of what we're going to need, and then just some WD-40 to kind of break some of the bolts loose. Alright, we have one clip right here to take out this inner shield so that we can access all the stuff underneath. So let's pull out that center pin and pull that out. And we have another pin right over here on this side. Okay. Alright, then all we have to do is pull this down, and it splits in half. Get this piece out, and then this piece out. Alright, now you can see we can access the timing marks right there. Okay, so now we got to move the crank pulley. Now we're going to remove the number one spark plug. Okay. And we're going to connect up our compression tester. Alright, now we want to make sure we remove the wires to the coil pack. Okay, just pull those out so that the engine does not fire. Okay, looks like that's holding around 95 pounds. Now I'm going to test all the other spark plugs, 1 through 4. Alright, I just got done doing my compression test. My number one cylinder was at 130, number two cylinder was at 130, number 3 cylinder was at 130, and number 4 cylinder was at 90. So that's the one we're going to look for. We want to make sure that when we do our when we look at the head gasket, that number 1, 2, 3 are all good. It's this number 4 cylinder. So I'm going to write the PSI right here, and then after we do the head gasket, I'm going to re-compression test it and see if we fix the problem. All right, our next step is we need to remove this bracket. There's 5 13mm bolts. All right, now we're just going to remove this lower motor mount. All right, now I put a jack underneath the oil pan, and I want to remove these 3 15mm bolts and release them a little at a time. Now I've got the jack underneath to support it. Okay, so you don't want to do this unless you have support underneath, because remember we just took that bottom motor mount out. And if you want to know how to replace this, I have another video on replacing this motor mount. Okay. Now what we're going to do is go down underneath and lower it down to where it connects onto that socket. Okay, now I can remove the motor mount. Alright, now I remove these 2 15mm. I can pull the motor mount out. Alright, down here on the passenger side there's a little petcock valve, a little white valve. We're going to turn that and drain out all the coolant out of the radiator. You'll notice right here is a little valve, so when I turn this it'll come out of that hole. Okay, so you don't have to pull it all the way out, so it can drain slowly. Alright, now I'm right up underneath the front of the engine, right behind the radiator. Here's the drain plug. Just going to remove that. Alright, now we're just going to remove the airbox. I'm just going to pull this back. And on the top side, remove that little valve. Just going to move that out of the way. Now we're just going to remove the upper radiator hose. Alright, so here you go, look at this. How bad this is. That's supposed to be green. That looks nothing like green. It just looks like a sludge. So, anywho. Alright, this is what I have for coolant. This is all my motor oil and my coolant. Now you tell me, is that the way it's supposed to look? I don't think so. So that's what happens, is all the oil separates, comes to the top, and freezes at the bottom. So that's why the engine was overheating for sure. Just no coolant there. Alright, before you remove the belt, just kind of look there at the diagram. Come over here, just kind of double check everything. Make sure it's hooked up the same way it is on the diagram. And then we're going to remove the belt. Then we'll move this pump out of the way. Okay, now we're just going to remove the belt. Just kind of fish it out of there. There we go. Now I've unhooked the wire for the AC pump, and we're just going to move that out of the way. Alright, now we got to finish removing this bracket for the AC pump. Alright, got to remove these 2 bolts for this bracket. 15mm here, 10mm there. Alright, now we're going to remove the overflow. We have a 8mm here, a 10mm right here, and then this standard screwdriver here. So we're just going to undo that, pull this line off, okay, and then we're going to come over here and I'll show you how to take this line off. Alright, you're going to disconnect it right here, come around here, there's a 8mm right here, and a 10mm right there, and then just disconnect it from here. Now this was really hard to get off, so I had to heat it up with the torch so I could break that loose. And we'll just take this and set it aside. All right, now we just got a T40 here, 2 of them. Okay, we're gonna release those, pull those bolts out. We're gonna just take our ball peen hammer, break this loose. I can't get this line off until I remove it from the valve cover, okay? So then that will just slide right off. All right, now I can remove this line. All right, so I made sure that all the timing marks are right there. You can see where that mark is compared to the block right there on the timing cover. Come up here, and right at the top of this camshaft, there's a little dot. You can see that. Okay. See that little dot? It's got to be straight up and down. That's what we're looking for. Okay. So that's at top dead center. All right, let me show you how to get this power steering pump off. Basically, you have to spin this pulley, and then there's one hole right there. I've already removed it. Then there are 2 more down here. Let me move this to the side. See this one here and this one down here? They bolt into the block there and there. And then this other one bolts in right here. And you access that by spinning the wheel. Then you can just remove this and get that out of your way. All right, we have 2 10mm bolts to remove the tensioner. Just pull it out of the way. All right, now we have 3 10mm bolts that hold on this pulley for the water pump, and we'll just pull that out. All right, now we're gonna take off the idle pulley. Got a 13mm bolt. To remove that, it should just come right off. All right, now I have 6 bolts on the water pump. I've already removed 4 from the top. Now I'm gonna take you down on the bottom. There's 2 more down here on the bottom to remove. 1, 2. I'll zip those off. All right, let's remove the last bump here. Look at that thing leak. That's nice. Yeah, I don't think that water pump was working. What do you guys think? That's pretty gross. Yeah, that is real gross. Anyway, that's why we're in here. Looks like we got ourselves a little vanilla sundae, vanilla caramel, strawberry, green, tapioca, whatever. That's bad. Look at that. What a mess. Wow. I didn't think it was this bad. All right, well, there you have it. Okay, our next step is to remove this bolt, 21mm. Pull that out, and then the pulley should just work right off. Now, if you find that this pulley does not want to come out and you can't get this bolt out, which is what the problem that we had, you want to grab yourself a torch. This is a little propane torch. I heat it up for about 10 minutes because the worst case scenario, you do not want to snap that bolt off in there, which would happen if that's seized on there. So what I did is heat it up with this torch, so I was able to break that loose. So in case that happens, don't keep prying on it if you can't get it off. Just put some heat on it and let it warm up, and that should release it.